in over my head. I had two people that equally cared about me but I wasn't being honest with them because they both didn't know about each other. So it wasn't fair, and after that, I went to conclave. Some months went by, and then Ava and I, we went out to this blues spot here in Atlanta. Had a great time. Had way too many drinks. At least I was drinking a lot. I'm not gonna say she was, but we got on the road, felt and we were driving, and this young kid that was driving with some other kids came and hit us, and the accident spun us around, flipped us around. We ended up on the other side of incoming traffic on 316.
Hmm.
Now, this was probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, something like that. What was I supposed to tell my wife, Hannah, that it just happened? So I do call my wife. I said, look, this is what's going on. But I said, don't panic. I'm with some guys. I'm this whole lying stuff. And I just got freaking tired, man. I got just tired of trying to live these different separate lives. It just didn't make any sense. And like I said, at 40, something just clicked in my brain. Like, look, enough is enough. This doesn't make. Or I was right at 40. I'm sorry, I was already about to turn 41. And I was like, look, this doesn't make any sense anymore. So the light switch for me was when I got in that accident, because we could have lost our lives. Because literally the ambulance, the police, everyone there was like, how the other incoming traffic didn't tear you guys for the rest that you had left of your vehicle, how that didn't happen, we have no idea.
I remember
And I
that. And
remember
the car
when it did
flipped.
happen.
Didn't the car flip and stuff like that when you in
Yeah,
that accident?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. And we write about that in the book, And I remember looking at Ava, and it was like that night, something clicked with the two of us. And it was like, it's time to either continue down this disaster course or make a change. And that was the moment that I said to myself, enough is enough. Now, again, Hannah and I had already been having problems, which you'll read about in the books. It's like 2016. So for 6 years, we were having major issues, major problems. A lot of issues was going on. And the culmination of it was right there when an accident I almost lost my life, along
Yeah.
with Ava.
Yeah, that I know. When I read about that, I was like, "Whoa!" Because that accident sounded so bad. It was like that
Yeah.
was, yeah. And so, but I remember reading where you talked about um, the cheating became almost like a second job. It was so much work because you had to
Yeah.
remember all of the lies and the stories and the
Yeah.
appointments and the everything else. And so, for me, it begs the question of, I mean, it almost sounds like an addiction. Now, I'm not saying that you were a sex addict
Mm-hmm.
or anything like that, but it just sounds like maybe that was the adrenaline or the rush or the something, because the same way that people who like to shop can't stop shopping,
Yeah.
even though that they're broke and they're in debt and all other kind of things. People who like to
Yeah.
gamble, people who smoke.
Yeah.
It just, what was it that had you so hooked? It wasn't any one woman. I know that.
Right.
What was
Right.
it that had you so hooked that it took almost losing your life to be able to say enough?
It was the rush of being chosen for me. When you're in a marriage and things start to kind of like plateau, and you're looking for that next high. So I think it is a bit of an addiction, Dr. Linda, because when you're out there, you know that what you're doing is not right. You know that because we're all intelligent. Well, most of us are intelligent, human beings, right? And so when you're not doing something that is, one, biblically right, morally right, emotionally right, spiritually right, all the different things. But you do it in my reasoning, my rationale. When I really sat down and started writing, that's when I realized, Oscar, you've been wanting to be chosen since you were that fifth grade child,
Hmm.
for the first kiss that you had, all the way through the rest of your life, always wanted to be chosen. You've never been by yourself. You've always had a female around. And so it was kind of like, when are you going to freaking sit down? And that's when it really became like really picture clear for me what my real addiction really was. It was being chosen.
Yeah. And you've talked about being chosen a number of times. I'm going to emphasize that because I want people to really hear that. Choosing is not something that is a one and done. You have to
Right.
choose that person every single day. sometimes
right.
multiple times throughout the day? Are they a priority? We're always
Yeah,
faced with more than one thing to do at any point in time. What is going to be
that's
the
right.
priority? And so when someone starts to feel as if they are no longer important or no longer the priority, they may be the one to actually then stray, whether it's physically or emotionally, because we all want to be chosen. There's a part of, no matter how strong and secure you think you are, we are flawed individuals. And there's always
Yeah,
some part in you somewhere that feels like I need validation. Some people need
yep,
more validation than others. Some need it in different ways. You know, we talked about love languages on a previous show. So the way you show love is different for different people, but
yeah,
everybody needs to feel as if they're chosen. So again, I
that's right.
want y'all to get in on this conversation. We're going to take our final break in just a moment, but I wanted to read something to you um, that fits in right here. It's in, let me see, what chapter is this? I know it's on page 248 in the book, but you said, the worst confession came last. I love her, mama. This is when you were talking to your mother about Hannah, and your mother already knew about the breakup and all of that. And you said, the worst confession came last. I love her, mama. I've always loved her. But love and being able to live with someone aren't the same thing. And I've been pretending they are because I was afraid of what that meant. And so, again, I'm just going to ask you, give that stuck with me, and I just want you to give us a little bit more on that. What was that fear when you talked about you were afraid of what that meant?
Yeah. You know, when you're tired and you don't see that person that you've put a ring on, and that you also wear a ring as well, you know, to honor them, and you don't see them the same anymore, and you lose the attraction, you lose the, you lose the like aspect of it, right? Because when you love someone that you're married to, doesn't mean you always like them,
Right.
right? And I was afraid of knowing what that meant, meaning possibly divorce, right? My parents were married for almost, I think, over 30 years, definitely over 30 plus years. And when they got their divorce, we were already grown. Me and my sister, Alicia, and the book were already grown. However, it's I just seeing that rip apart, seeing it happen was something that I didn't want to experience, right? And unfortunately, I was afraid of that. I was scared that might be my thing. So that's what I really meant about that, inside of the book when I wrote about it. Scared of what that might actually mean if I were to really pursue how I was really truly feeling.
Okay. Before we break, I got to get this question in. So Michelle wants to know, had you not had that life-changing accident, would you have continued in the path you were going?
No, no, and I can further validate that by knowing where I was mentally. I was already exhausted, and I was tired of wearing the mask. And when I turned 40 initially, and a year or so prior to that, I knew right then that I was becoming a different person, and I was becoming more refined. And so, me knowing that, and respecting myself enough to know that, Oscar, you're better than this. You've been living the lie. You're not going to just let everything go. You're not going to get off the hook that easy, Oscar. Talking to myself, right? You're going to have to be able to sit with yourself and figure it out. So yeah, I would have still have came to terms with it and had to have asked for the separation, when I did, even if the accident didn't happen. That accident was more so just like you could have lost your life. What would have happened? What would have even how would all this stuff even have played out, right? Had this really
Yeah.
have happened, and had you lost your life that night doing something that you weren't supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I'm glad you said you started respecting yourself, because when people engage in self-destructive behavior, and let's face it, an extramarital affair is self-destructive behavior, you are
Absolutely.
not respecting yourself. You are not taking care of you. You don't know your own
Yeah.
worth and value. You put yourself through things unnecessarily, because whereas on the outside it may have looked at people like you were living the life, no, that was hard on you
Yep.
emotionally, physically, psychologically, in every
Yep.
possible way. So we have
Yep.
to get to a place where we love and respect ourselves enough that we won't engage in those self-destructive behaviors. And then I've got to say this, there was one thing that I kind of disagreed with you on in the book. So far, I've only
Okay.
found one thing, but this
Okay.
was, you gave Darius a pass. Now, just very quickly and then we'll break. But so Darius was one of your best friends. You guys have been friends for 6 years. And when you let Hannah know that you wanted the separation, in her upset, she reached out to Darius and she was like, okay, he told me about this one woman, but I know there's more. What's going on? You said that Darius, well, I'm paraphrasing again. The feeling I got from what you were saying was that Darius was not wrong to spill it to Hannah. I look at that differently. I think that he was wrong. He didn't have to lie. I mean, in the book, you were saying, okay, he didn't want to continue lying for you. He didn't have to lie. There was an in between. Darius could
That's right.
have said, and I think he should have said, he could have confirmed what you already told her and what she knew, but he should have
Yeah.
sent her back to you, or he should have said something along the lines of, yes, there were other things, because yes, they were friends. So he wanted to be, good with his friend. He could have said, there were other things going on, but maybe you need to talk to Miles, And so
Yep.
I just feel like by him giving her names and dates and locations, that was way too much. But you also talk in the book about how Darius was like keeping inventory. Darius was jealous of you. He was definitely
100%.
jealous of you and your lifestyle. And that's why the first opportunity he got, he let
Yep.
her know everything that you have been
Sure
doing.
did.
You don't do that. So the
No.
place where I disagree with you is I think you let him off too easy. That's what I'm saying. Darius was wrong. He sold you out and he had no right to tell
Yeah.
business that was not his business to tell.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
all
and
right.
initially I was very very upset with him. I mean, I wanted to really wanted to hurt that guy, man, because I was like, why would you do that? Because there is a bro code out there, and all you can say,
Yeah.
look, I don't know anything, talk to him. But when I started writing, sitting down and really writing about everything, and writing the letters to my ex-wife, and writing about to myself as well, that's when I said, you know what, I can't blame him because I'm the one that was doing what I was doing. And that's when I started taking full responsibility for everything. But trust me, I hear you. It took me a long time
Yeah.
to be able to really come to terms with what he did in the
Yeah.
way that
And
he
I mean,
did it.
I agree with you on the part that yes, you have to take responsibility for what you did. 100%. But
Yeah.
yeah, that was malicious on his part, and he wasn't thinking about her either, because just by
No.
sharing all of that weight, that was too much for her. You could
Hmm.
have said it in a way that would have tried to be more compassionate and
Yeah.
giving it to her instead of her just being hit in the face with all of that. But anyway,
That's
I
right.
need to press pause so that we can take our last and final break. And so you guys, I need you to come up with a question or a comment and either call or text or put it in the YouTube chat, because I mean this is education. Not only are you being educated on marriage and cheating and all of that, but this is a whole relationship education that you're getting from Oscar Frazier. So we're going to put a pause on the conversation and we'll be right back. This is Relationship Conversations with Dr. Linda Bing, Pittsburgh's DSEN.
We are going to be on the Royal Caribbean Cruise Line and their new ship, Icon of the Seas, November 7th through the 14th, 2026.
We got excellent dates because the dates that we got are not within their blackout date, which means that whatever current promotion is happening right now with Royal Caribbean, when you pay your deposit, that promotion will be applied. If it's 60% off the second person, there's one that's a drink credit because they run different promotions all the time. This is a large corporation, and we have all balcony rooms and we have ocean view rooms that are reserved just for DSEN listeners. Icon of the Seas, it has elevated adult-focused party and chill areas. It has an infinity pool where you sit in this infinity pool and you see views of the ocean. They have a day vibe where there's a DJ. They are a little bit of party without the chaos. So you're not going to get the hoopla party chaos, but you're still going to be entertained. They have the Aquadome. Those of us who are Pittsburgh born and raised, we remember when the Civic Arena used to open up the dome. Remember that?
Absolutely.
How amazing that! I saw Prince and they
Wow.
opened the dome. Well, they have something called an Aquadome on Icon of the Seas, and basically you sit in this theater type zone and they're doing acrobatics and night activities. You get views of the ocean and the sky and the stars and the moon, and it is just wonderful. They have water park at sea that has 6 water slides to it.
It's
And of
like
course,
a floating city. You
it
know
is.
what I
It
mean?
really is.
You're talking about a dome that opens.
Which is why they don't say decks. Instead, that what they have are different neighborhoods. Because it is. It's a rolling on the sea city. And we're going to stop at St. Martin in Phillipsburg. We're going to stop at St. Thomas. Those will be full days where we're there. So you can do excursions if you'd like to do excursions. And of course, there's the perfect day at Coco Cay, which is Royal Caribbean's private island. And we're going to have a special reserved section for DSEN listeners. It's going to be a wonderful time. While we're on the cruise, we're going to do some trivia. Of course, we'll have a welcome cocktail as well as a farewell dinner. It is not just limited to the radio listeners. Bring everybody. The deposit is $250 per person.
You can go to Pittsburgh's DSEN's website to find out all the good information about the cruise, Icon of the Seas. I even love the name.
No, I love it. I'm a cruise fanatic. I'm ready to go home and start packing. So
I-
I'll see you ladies later.
Welcome back.
Everybody that should testify, help us say,
Welcome back to Relationship Conversations with Dr. Linda Bing on Pittsburgh's DSEN. We have had a time tonight talking with Oscar Frazier, the author of a brand new book. This is his first interview, really. So you guys are getting this information before the book officially launches. The book is called Dear Ex-Wife, and the subtitle of the book is Safe, Fast, and Broken, a confessional memoir. The book is phenomenal. You've got to get a copy of it. And we've been putting it in the chat for you, so you have the link to Amazon. You're getting that all night long. I'm going to move us quickly in this last segment because we're actually almost out of the segment time. But we have one comment where someone said, men cheat because women cheat, access and attention. Now, I'm not sure. I don't have the context for that. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it because I want to keep us moving. But I do want to say, I don't think men cheat because women cheat. I don't think women cheat because men cheat. I think there's that void, there's that looking to, like Oscar was saying, to be chosen, to have attention. And so, yes, I agree with the second part of this. Access and attention is part of it. But I don't think that one gender cheats because the other gender cheats. Then we've got some new messages that came through. Hold on. All right. All right, so we have someone, I've been asked to read you. This is a station announcement. We apologize for the split of the broadcast. Thanks in advance for your understanding. Yeah, apparently there's a problem with the YouTube link, and it dropped us from the live feed for about 20 seconds, back in the last segment or so. Hopefully, if you're on now, you were on before, you had a chance to catch it. But if you know somebody who maybe missed out, just remind them that this does get posted to YouTube. So if there's any part of it that was missed, you can go back and listen to it on YouTube. And then I have someone, Lainey again, who is saying kudos to Oscar Frazier for having the strength to share his story in efforts to help others. And she's got a bunch of hand claps after that. And I agree. I don't think that people talk in this vulnerable, transparent state often enough. It is very rare for a man to do so because, again, everything we talked about, we women are socialized to share our feelings, men are not. So just the fact, now there may be some brothers that want to take away your brother card because you gave away some secrets, but you helped a lot of people tonight, and we're not quite done. So in the short amount of time that we have left, I want to switch to healing. And, I get frustrated sometimes when I hear people who talk about, I'm a work in progress, or God's not finished with me yet. If you're a follower of Jesus Christ, don't blame that on God. Know at the time that you became saved, he gave you the Holy Spirit. He gave you everything you need to live your life according to his precepts and principles. But you have to do the work. So it would be the same thing as if, let's say your house is cold and you pray for a fire so that you can keep warm. God has given you the wood. He gave you the newspaper, the matches. He even gave you a quick start log, but the fire isn't going to magically appear. You have to strike the match. You've got to put the fire to those elements. So yes, you have everything that you need, but you have to do the work. So I want to talk about the work. Now, I know in the book, we don't have time to do it now, but I want to tell people that in the book, you do reveal some of the stages that you went through on your healing journey. But explain to us, why did you write the book?
Well, I wrote the book because it was really more so the best therapy I could have ever have had. I had went through other therapists during this time, and they were good. Don't get me wrong, they were definitely good. But you know how you walk into a space, you're giving them half truths, half this. You're not really being totally transparent. When you sit down with yourself, because for a while there, I went through some depression because I was by myself for the first time, right? And so during that time, that's when I really was like, I just started writing, Dr. Linda. This wasn't something where I said, I think I'm going to write a book and I'm going to call it Dear Ex-Wife. It was like I started writing in a little journal, and I'd write every day when I was sitting in the same home I live in now, sitting and writing about like all the stuff going on, just writing. And then after I finally sat there with a bunch of pages, scribbling some pages and everything else, that's when I was like, I need to tell the story. Because I think somebody else, even if it's one person, man or woman, that can relate to this, whether you're on the man's side or the woman's side, whatever side you're on, if you can relate to my story and it can help one other person be able to learn something from it, be a better husband, a better wife, then I think I've accomplished the purpose in writing the book for others. But initially, it was written for myself and for me to really help myself through the therapeutic, just pen to paper and writing to myself.
Absolutely. And so I know you did not write the love letters to your ex-wife, but do you think that she'll ever read them? Would you want her to read them?
That's a damn good question. Perhaps she will. And what I realized in the letters that I was writing, when I was writing them to her, and it talks about this towards the end of the book, I actually started realizing that those letters were really written to myself. Because it was my truth for a change, for one time in my life to finally become truthful. So if she were to read the book or if she were to read the letters, it would be apologies to her in different levels and parts of my life that was happening. Because the letters start from childhood all the way through. So a lot of these were things before I even knew who Hannah was, but I was able to, grow over the periods of time. So yeah, if she read them, I would be totally open to her to read them.
Okay. And so let me just give you a heads up. One of the things I'm going to ask you to do is, as we wrap, I'm going to ask you to tell us what you want the reader to get out of this book. And you can kind of roll that into maybe some of the lessons that you learned. So I will have you close us out. But before we do that, we have, is it Bam Bam maybe saying, given your experience, what advice would you give a young brother who is single but looking to be married and remain 100% faithful?
Yeah. I would say to thine own self be true, meaning if you're ready for a forever commitment. You know that deep down, right? If you have any doubt, you should wait. And it's not so much for you, but for that other person. You know, you don't want to awake the soul of a woman that you're not ready to really protect her soul and protect her heart. And if you're not ready for that, because it's a responsibility. If you can't do it, I would rather you wait as a young man until you are ready to be consistent in a marriage. That would be my best advice to you, man. Don't awaken the heart of a female if you're not ready to protect it. And part of that protection is protecting it through no infidelity, no happy endings, no girlfriends on the side. That's all considered cheating, right? So
Right.
those are things you got to be considerate of, man.
That's good. And it reminded me of something that I had marked in the book where you said, love is what a person protects after the vows. I meant the words. I didn't protect the thing the words were about. A wound doesn't give a man the right to wound someone else. Man, that's so beautiful and so profound because you're exactly right. Love is a verb. It's not a feeling, it's a verb. It's stuff that you have
Yeah.
to do. That's what love is. And you're right. It is a man's responsibility to provide and protect. And so,
Yeah.
to your point, what you were saying to the person with the question, to that listener, yeah, if you're not ready to take full responsibility, not only for your life, but for that woman's life and any lives that may come out as a result of that union, then you're not ready to be married. And then we have a question. Yeah, this was on my list too, but I wasn't going to go there just in time. But someone else wants to know. So, where is Oscar at now with relationships? And if he's in a relationship, what does the woman think about what he's doing now? So, first of all, are you in a relationship now?
I am.
Okay. And what does that woman think about all of this?
Yeah, so initially she was nervous about it. It was kind of like, well, what does this mean for me? Are they going to think I'm part of the book? Are they going to think, so all of those kind of questions came out. Um, but she's okay with it because she knows that this was truly therapeutic, for me. And I think that she respects that. Is my short answer because of time.
Yeah. Has she expressed any fears about perhaps becoming Hannah one day?
Absolutely. At 100%,
Yeah.
100%. And I think that those kind of questions I deserve to have asked of me because it's like you can say this all day long until the next Ferrari, the next, you know, Lamborghini. Are you going to be able to control yourself, right? And but I think where I'm at now at this age, I'll be 45, in a few more months. I don't. I've grown. I know how to control that appetite, if you will. It's almost like when with Alcoholics Anonymous or rehabilitation. One thing they teach you, you always may have urges, but you learn different types of tools and things that you can do to keep those things subdued, right? And as long as you can do that, you're going to be just fine. And the person I have now is by far not just a minivan, but definitely a Lamborghini as well, right? So those two things help out a lot as well. Plus, me just being honest with myself makes things so much easier about how I can, be the man that I need to be for her.
Beautiful. This book, I'm telling you, get this book. I want to read you before you close us out. I want to read your dedication. Now, there is something in everything from the dedication through the epilogue. Many times when
Yeah.
people get a book, they don't read the dedication, they just go right into the meat of it. But this is one of the ways that there's something in this book for everyone. So the dedication reads like this: For the boy at the fence who only ever wanted to be chosen and who waited far too long to learn that he was allowed to choose himself. For the men still standing where I once stood, with the door closed and the truth unspoken, still making the mistakes I made, it is not too late to go home to yourself. And for the women who loved men like us, who gave their patience, their trust, their years, and deserved an honesty we were too afraid to give, you were never the thing that needed fixing. You never were. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Every time I think we're done, we get more, and I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, there's a phone call coming in. Hez, is that person on the line? Caller, are you there?
I am. Thank you so much.
Hi.
Yes, I'm here. So my question is around healing and around healing for men, similar to Oscar. I know that he's going to tell us at the end sort of how to get in touch with him, but I'm curious for my brother and my nephew and other men. Are you connected with a group or is this some sort of men's group where men can come together and have these discussions and get to their healing where they can be seen amongst other men and feel safe? Just curious.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked that. So if you go to our website, dearexwife.com, all words all together, dearexwife.com, no hyphens, just the word straight through. First, what you're going to see as you scroll down are some upcoming. We're starting to plan some retreats. So those that don't know, I'm also working with Mrs. Angie Sims here in Atlanta, and her and I and some others are planning some major retreats. And those retreats are going to be consistent of having, licensed, therapists, psychologists, etc., to have real talk conversations, because men, we don't really have those kind of outlets, right? And so we're working that right now, but you get to get in touch with me. And like I said, Angie she's just a doll with stuff like this. She's been really helping me to formulate this and put it all together. But our goal is to start having our first retreat this year. It's going to be happening this year. And so be on the lookout. Stay on dearexwife.com. You also can reach out to us on there. We've got contact information on there to get in contact. You can also reach me at info@oscarfrazier.com. That's info@oscarfrazier.com, FRAZIER.com. And I'd love to talk to you, man, for us to do that. But yes, we have a lot of things in the hopper coming.
Amazing. That is fantastic. And yes, Angie is a friend of mine. She is absolutely wonderful at planning and executing events. So if she's helping to put this retreat together, it will be everything you anticipate and more. Are we done with calls, Hezriel? Any other calls coming in? All right. I guess we're all good. Thank you. Yes, he says all good. All right. Give us your final thoughts. Thank you so much. I'll let you give your final thoughts and then I'll close us out.
Okay. For those that may ask the question of who mattered most in this book, the honest answer is Hannah and my father Leon, and that's because one built the blueprint, the other is the person I finally had the courage to tell the truth to. And so as you go through this book, I want you to understand that it was never about the flattery of being with multiple women. That was never the point of this book. But it also had to be written because it talks about the reality of what a lot of men go through. When you're a professional, you're making some money, you're halfway decent looking guy, you're going to run into these kind of problems. It's going to have, it's inevitable. But how you handle it is everything. And I think that if you get nothing else out of this book, understand that it was never about any one individual in the book, but it was always about the man that was actually telling the story, and actually the impact that it had on both Hannah and then the impact my father, Leon, had on some of the decisions that I made when he set the blueprint when I was only back at 8, 9 years old. So I just want to thank you, Dr. Linda, so much for the opportunity to speak my truth. And I'm hoping that it has an impact on those that have listened to this and those that will listen to this. And again, go out to dearexwife.com to learn more. And hell, you can listen to the prologue, the list. I have some stuff you can listen to on there as well to get more of a flavor for the book as well.
Absolutely. And of course, this will be uploaded onto the Pittsburgh DSEN YouTube channel. So by all means, go to the YouTube channel, send the link to other people if you think there's someone that would benefit from hearing this. Oscar, I can't thank you enough. This was, this kind of stuff is fun for me. And to have fun while I am informing and educating and helping other people heal, that's just like the perfect combination. So I appreciate the fact that you entrusted me to be one of the people to bring out your work early on. As I said, it hasn't even launched yet, but you allowed us to bring it. And I thank you so much. So as we close tonight, I hope one thing has become crystal clear. Relationships are rarely about just two adults. They're also about two childhoods, two sets of wounds, two histories, two hopes, and two people trying to love each other with everything they've learned and everything they haven't. Tonight, we talked about how the child in us shows up in our marriages. We talked about why people cheat. Yeah, we had an emphasis on the men, but we talked about why people cheat. We talked about how to recognize when it's time to leave. And perhaps the most important part was how to heal when love falls apart. Those aren't just conversations about marriage, they're conversations about becoming healthier human beings. So whether you're married, divorced, dating, or choosing to remain single, just remember that the end of a relationship does not have to be the end of your story. It can be the beginning of your growth. Healing is not about finding someone new, it's about becoming someone new. And when we do the work to heal ourselves, we don't just change our next relationship, we change the legacy that we leave for our children, our families, and ourselves. So again, I thank Oscar Frazier, and I wish you all would go out, get a copy of the book. Before I leave you, let me just remind you of some of the things coming up for Pittsburgh's DSEN. So check out Soul Tape, which is Pittsburgh's exciting sports talk show, each Tuesday from 6 to 8 p.m. The topics will be how the Pirates grade out at the halfway point of the season, how the Steelers secondary rank heading into training camp in 4 weeks, how the Penguins did in the draft, and thoughts on Serena Williams' comeback, Wimbledon favorites or sleepers, NBA news. I mean, there's so much. Will LeBron and Anthony Davis go to Golden State? Who will win the WNBA Commissioner's Cup? LA or New York? Catch all of those topics and more. And don't forget, you heard about the cruise on the Eastern Caribbean taking place November 7th through the 14th. So go to the website, which is pghdsen.com, and register for the cruise. Last but not least, tune into our radio stream at pghdsen.com for the best of soulful music that will be on right after my show, and it goes on until midnight. Also, please stay up to date with our radio schedule. Since this week is the 4th of July, there will be some special announcements and more that will be broadcasted. So please listen to Pittsburgh's DSEN this holiday weekend as we bring you a great lineup of soulful music. And remember, the best way to stay up to date with Pittsburgh's DSEN is to subscribe. It's free, and we'll keep you updated on all of our 24/7 programming, soulful music, Pittsburgh sports talk, and lifestyle programming right here on Pittsburgh's DSEN, the place for soul. So thank you for tuning in to Relationship Conversations with Dr. Linda Bing. As I leave you, I always leave you with my wish for you to keep learning, keep growing, and keep loving. One love, y'all. Good night.
You've been listening to Relationship Conversations with Dr. Linda Bing. Continue to listen to Pittsburgh's DSEN. We're on 24/7. See our radio schedule for programming details, and please remember to subscribe to receive updated information.